Everyone, how are you doing today? Good to see you. And I'm so looking forward to tonight. I have my guest, Enoch Adeyemi, who is one person that I really admire and I love what he's doing in Scotland. Before I continue this evening, from my voice, you can hear that I'm not feeling too great, but because of you, I still have to go on with this. So please do me a favor, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you comment. If you have questions, put your questions across. We'll pick it up, and Enoch is going to answer any questions that you have. All right, so I'm going to start off with Enoch. Enoch, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Just been putting up the Christmas tree. I think it was the
Ooh,
11th of December. So I don't
you're
know if that's a
late.
bit late or not. So
You're
my
late. You're late.
yeah, a bit late, right? Yeah, it's just been a very busy last few days. And yeah, but apart from that, I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm healthy, and the family is good as well.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, bless God. All right. So, interesting when I was reading your profile, the first thing that caught my attention is Enoch describes himself as human. I'm like, okay, I've read I've read a lot of I've read of profiles and I've never seen that before. So I want us to talk about that briefly. So what does that statement mean? Enoch Adeyemi describes himself first as human. Can you please explain that to me and explain to my audience as well?
Yeah, thank you very much for asking that, Ola. So I describe myself as human because first of all, that's what I am. When we try to describe ourselves, sometimes we go with um, I'm an engineer, I'm a father of two, I'm this, I'm that. But I just try to take it back to the genesis. What am I first? And I'm
Mm,
human. And the reason why I put that as part of my description is I think there are certain characteristics to being human. Having that human tendency, kindness, forgiveness. I think for me, it's more about that kindness side of humanity,
wow.
and that's what I try to live by. I'm not 100%. I'm not perfect, but it's just showing that kindness, and that's why I always describe myself first as human, and then blah 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 blah.
Wow.
So that's why that's in my description.
Wow. That's so interesting. Guys, I never told him I was going to ask him that. And for those of you who are used to Wordzone, you'll know that this is unscripted. They don't have an idea of what I'm going to ask. We just flow. We go with the flow. And Enoch is able, is capable. All right. Yeah. Thank you for explaining that you're human. I think we need a lot of humans on earth, even though we have so many people, but we need a lot of people who actually have empathy, forgiveness, like you said, and they show the characteristics of actually being human. We need a lot of people like that on earth.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, Enoch, I'm going to ask you, could you tell my audience who Enoch Adeyemi is
Okay.
in brief?
So briefly, yes, sure. I'll try and brief. So Academy. I'm originally from Nigeria. I now live in Scotland. Um, Married. I've got children. I work wise. I work as a qualified or chartered accountant. I work as I consult. So I don't um, consult mainly within financial services. And but then beyond that, I also have started a few organizations, if you want to call it that. So I co-founded a company in Nigeria called Visit Nigeria Now. I I founded an organization here in Scotland called Black Professional Scotland, and I co-founded an organization called Bagafa. I mean, not Bagafa. Visit Nigeria, not Visit Nigeria. Black Scottish Adventurers. I'm seeing someone writing "This is living" and they're just confusing me because that's our mantra. I shouted "This is living" maybe 100 times yesterday because we went on an adventure. So they just messing up in my mind. Someone just dropped something in the chat. But then yeah,
Okay.
so I think the main thing, the what I've been told about myself is I tend to try and find solutions to problem. So a lot of the things I've started or co-founded are things I've seen that, okay, there's a problem here. Can I find a solution to it? Yep. And then I've just gone ahead and found the solution. So that's sort of something I'm interested in. If it's within my power to find a solution, then I just sort of jump in and get it done.
Wow. Thank you so much. So you founded and co-founded a few organizations, and your father,
I mean, yeah,
you're a consultant,
yeah.
you're a man of wearing a lot of hats.
I,
You're a husband,
yeah,
because that's a
I'm yeah, my husband. Yeah. I know,
that's a lot.
yeah, there's fathering, there's husbanding, there's
Ah,
sonning because my parents are still much alive. So, and then you still need to spend time with your siblings as well. So it's about there's got to be some kind of balance. So how you balance your time between all these sort of competing needs, and it's just finding that sweet spot is the um, holy grail, really.
wow, wow, that's good. Okay, so trying to ensure that we have the chats coming in.
Sure, I
Please
can see
bear with
chat
me a
coming in.
second. Okay, I cannot see them. I don't know why. Okay, I can't see them. That's strange. Okay, let's go on. I don't want to get distracted by that.
Okay.
I don't know why I can't see them. That's very strange. If you can see them, okay, what's
Yeah, so
happening
say
here?
you've
Okay,
gotten or received. Okay, you've seen them.
no, I haven't.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I was
haven't.
going to say we've gotten sort of comments from two folks, Olaleye and
Okay,
Oduwole.
okay, on YouTube,
From
right?
YouTube, yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on. So, do you want to tell us about this organization? I particularly know before you tell us about the organization, I wanted to ask you are originally from Nigeria, so at some point you migrated to Scotland.
Yes.
Could you tell us that journey and how did it happen? Because for everyone who is on Wordzone, they know that one of the messages we pass on Wordzone is on process and self-discovery.
Sure.
So why migrating from
Yep.
the largest? I'm from Nigeria. I'm originally from Nigeria, so I might be biased.
Yep.
The finest and greatest country in Africa, and
Yep.
you came to Scotland. So
Yeah,
what?
sure. So I'll take it back a bit. So I'm from a very humble background, and
Mhm,
when I share my story, I try to use it to inspire people that it could be anything really. I was speaking
mhm,
to a gentleman yesterday randomly, and when we're on the adventure, and he took a photo. They took a photo of him, and I saw the photo, and I said, "Wow, this is a really good photo. You look like a model." And I said, "No, why can't you be a model? What makes you not be a model?" I think like lots of putting limitations on ourselves before we even start to do that.
mm,
So my dad is from Ogun State, a state in Nigeria, close to Lagos State. My dad is uneducated. He probably just about got his primary school education before moving to Lagos, the capital, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
yep.
And he met my mom there. My mom, same thing. No, she didn't go to university or anything. She just about finished high school. So they were from that background where education wasn't really given to them. Um,
Mm,
Finance wasn't really given to them. So they started their life very poor, my parents.
mm,
But I think because my dad never had limitations, I remember when we were young, when we were still poor, my dad used to
mm,
say some grand things. And I always thought, what was this guy talking about? Like, these are ridiculous things. But that was what I grew up with. I grew up with believing the unbelievable, believing things that we didn't see,
mm, yeah.
and one of his dreams was he prayed. We normally do this morning prayer, and my dad used to pray then that um, God will spread us across the world. And I was thinking, we've never been to the airport. We don't have a passport. So, but then these were years we prayed that God will spread us across the world and we'll do great things in different places. And we just said amen, but whatever. But and then thankfully, God, my parents were hardworking, and um, they were rewarded for their hard work. They were blessed, and blessed enough to the point where they were able to give us good education. And when I finished my secondary school, then it was the point where I had to go to university, and I ended up going to do my A levels in Lagos. And A levels is sort of a 2-year program. However, the college I went to in Lagos, because it was very expensive, they crushed the 2-year program into 9 months. So it was just non-stop studying. It was really hardcore. And
Wow.
when I finished that, I got good grades, and then I had the option to go into a second year at any university I wanted in Nigeria, or come over to the UK to start my degree. We My parents didn't have the money for me to come to the UK at that point. But when I came to my dad, and I've forgotten the story, it was my dad that was telling me years after, that I came to his room one night. I got on my knees and I was begging him, like, Dad, please just believe in me, sponsor me, essentially, like invest in me, and I'll pay you back in some way. Let me go to the UK. Um, like in the middle of the night, I must have woken up and just gone to his room and just like begging and crying that just, find the money wherever you can find the money, and I'll make you proud and stuff like that. So apparently that was what I did. I can't remember. So I guess I moved him enough, and he said, yeah, we'll sponsor you to go to the UK then. And and that was how I ended up at the University of Liverpool to study accounting. And I remember going through university was very tough. It was um it was I can say this now. I was always in debt. My school fees always came late just because my parents were just sort of struggling to get the money to me every semester. So I was always out of the library,
Wow.
because my card was always blocked, because I was always in debt. But somehow I scaled through first year, second year, third year. I remember when I went to collect my final year results, the lady, she looked at me and she said, "How did you write the exam? Because you were not supposed to write that exam to even, finish." And I was like, I don't know, they let me in. So thankfully, I finished my degree. I was able to pay off all my school fees, and I graduated. And that was my story of coming from Nigeria to the UK. It was just a case of believing, and just my parents believing in me, because things could have gone in a different way after spending all that
Wow.
money on me, but they believed in me, and they sent me to the University of Liverpool, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. Wow. Enoch, you are such a testimony, honestly.
Thank you.
Honestly, you are such a testimony. And you know that's the thing now. When people see you, they see the kind of house you live in, they see the kind of car you drive now. They don't know your story.
Mm.
And until we share, like you said, that you like sharing your story to inspire other people. And I'm sure there are people who are going to be listening to this who are parents or who are themselves here in the UK, maybe those who just came into the UK, and they're like, when are we ever going to make it? Is this journey going to be bright? Because they always say there is light at the end of the tunnel. We can't we don't know when we're going to get to the end of this tunnel. Will there ever be light? But hearing a story like yours will inspire somebody to say, look, we can actually do this. I might be in debt now, but a time is coming where I would scale through all of this and I'll be focused. And I know that one of the things that helped you, even if you didn't say it, is being focused and remembering the son of who you are. They always
Yeah,
tell us that,
yeah, yeah.
especially Yoruba parents.
Just
They
if
will
you're,
always
yeah,
tell you,
yeah.
yeah,
Run
remember
to
the
my
song. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because I
remember.
remember I remember when we were at the university, and that was the university was a beautiful experience in the sense
Mm,
that it was a leveler. And what I mean by that is when I got to university, so I came from the background I came from, and then
mhm,
you had people that came from wealth, people that came from money,
mm,
people that could afford
yeah,
to do anything they wanted. There was
mm,
this boy. Is the story I'll never forget. His dad was some influential person back home in Nigeria, and all
mm,
the targets they gave this boy was, if you can just finish uni, we don't care if you finish with a third class or a fifth class. If you can just finish uni, we'll
mm,
buy you a BMW. So those were the people I was mixing with, just people from different background, people with different wealth level. And for me, it was good as well, in the sense that it was eye opening for me. I got
mm,
to learn from these people as much as I got to learn from just that diversity was good for me. Um,
mm,
but back to your point around not forgetting who you are. I couldn't. In my case, I couldn't, because
mm,
we suffered as kids, like myself and my siblings growing up. I'll give you a side story. Sorry, my my wife was my sister was talking to my wife the other day that, oh yeah, the kids just, they didn't want to go to their bedroom, so some of them slept on the floor and this and that, just because they were enjoying watching TV. And my wife was like, oh, if they're sleeping on the floor, like, is their body not gonna ache? And my wife just, my sister just laughed, because my sister was like, look at your wife. Your wife doesn't. Have you not told your wife your story? Like, when we were growing up, we slept on the mat, like the
yeah,
traditional mats. I grew up
yeah,
sleeping on the mat for the first 10 years. So we had a living room, and then we had a bedroom. Dad and mom slept on the bed.
great,
Myself and four other siblings slept on the floor on the mat. That
yeah,
was my upbringing. As you said, it's interesting, because when people see me now, they can't match me with that
mm,
person, but that was the upbringing I had. And for me, it was interesting. It shaped me, definitely helped me into who I am today, having other experiences. And
wow.
because, sorry, I'll stop. Just I'll let you
No,
continue.
no, no, go on, Enoch, go on.
Because, as I say, not to be proud. I've been poor and I've been rich, so I've seen
Mm,
both sides, and I think that has shaped some of what I do around, when I say I am human first,
mm,
because I know what it's like to be poor.
well,
I know what it's like not to have support. I know what it's
mm,
like to be the underdog. I've been that. We grew up like that. You know, I remember when we were growing up and we went to these rich people's house, and just the way they looked down on us, I can still remember that clearly, because we couldn't speak good English. My parents couldn't speak English. We were the ones teaching our parents English. Um, and that actually helped me in a way as well, because my parents wanted us to teach them English. I got very good at English, to the point where I ended up going on to win the spelling bee competition for Lagos State. So bad things have worked, turned out to work well for me eventually. And that's
well,
why I always tell people, like, don't despise your story. Your story makes you. Don't hate where you come from. It should hopefully pull good things out of it. Don't only look at the bad side of it. There should be some good things you should be able to pull out of every bad situation you've been in, to then hopefully power you on to the next I guess next step or next stage of your life.
wow. Enoch, your story is so, so powerful. And as you tell your story, it reminds me of me as well. So, and honestly, I don't know the way God does these things. You just discover that people with similar stories and similar visions, God just have a way of pulling them together, and they just connect. Because I've never heard your story before. All I know about you is BPS and you're Sade's husband.
Yeah.
I've never heard your story, but for some strange reasons, I just find you as an interesting person and someone I can talk to and someone I can relate with. I didn't know you had this very similar story to
That's
mine.
true. Actually, yeah, that's true.
No,
Yeah, we've never had this conversation. So
no, no,
I could
never.
have come on this show and told you nothing. So you're taking a big gamble.
Wow, wow, wow. This is so powerful. But the thing is, the funny thing is, when you see people do things like, I just knew that there must be something behind what you're doing. You can't just come together and say, oh, I want to help people. There must be something behind it. Everyone who is doing something powerful or who is who is in the forefront must have a story. But the problem with our generation is we don't take time to listen to stories. We just want the results, and we want to go with the results. I'm always very interested in the process. How did you get here? Don't tell me Jesus did it like the church people would do. They'll say Jesus did it. Yes, I know Jesus did it, but how? I want to know the how. How did you do it? So that it's the how that is going to help other people, the steps that would help other people, not really the final result. So, Enoch, thank you so much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for choosing to be vulnerable. Thank you so, so much. And honestly, this is, even Elo is here. Elo is saying, our stories are powerful. Then I hear someone say, very moving story about your humble background. I could tell there is something special about you. You have done well. Oh, that's Lekon. Thank you, Lekon. Yeah, hello, Yemtina. Believing the unbelievable. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so let's move from Liverpool. We now move to Scotland. How did you transport yourself from from Liverpool to Scotland? Because Liverpool is in England.
Yep.
So what brought you to Scotland?
Yeah. So when I finished my degree, I was trying to start my career. I studied accounting, and I couldn't get work. I couldn't kick my career off. I couldn't. Nobody was willing to take me on as a graduate or anything. So then I was getting to the point where I needed to make a decision, either go back home to Nigeria. And I was so close to going back home. Actually, I got to the final stages of um, British Petroleum graduate training program. I
Hmm.
went to the office in London, and I think it was at the final stage that
Hmm.
I got cut off. And I'm
Oh,
glad I got cut off, because I'm happy with my life now. But it was a really good deal for me then as a 20-year-old boy. They were throwing millions at us. They were giving us money to repatriate, or I mean, to move all our or everything we had back to Nigeria. We're going to get a flat, a car. Like as a 20-year-old boy, that was dream. That was things my dad could only dream of. But thankfully that didn't work. And then I heard that in Scotland, if you studied in Scotland back then, so this was back in 2006. If you
hmm.
studied in Scotland, you get the opportunity to work after that. So you get a work visa automatically. And I thought, okay, that was good. So I left everything I built in Liverpool. So I'd been in Liverpool for 3 years. I built friends and relationships, and I just dropped everything, packed my bags. The only way is north, and I ended up in Stirling, in Bridge of Ireland, back in 2006 September. And I remember, I want to share this part of the story. Um, my first night in Stirling, I cried. you know, I where the postgraduate accommodation was this place called Bridge of Ireland. It was a very quiet place. So I was coming from Liverpool, so just to give you perspective. So is I don't know the people on this call. So I guess it's like moving from London to Dundee. It was very different. Very quiet, very different set of people. I got there, I didn't particularly see black people. And in Liverpool, I already had a group of black friends. I was going to a black church, and I had those people around me. So I got there, and I was just sad. I was just saying, life is just horrible. Like it's desperation that made me come to Scotland, that rather than come to Scotland. But I came, and I remember this second day, this Italian guy came in. So it was a 5-bed house for postgraduates. One of my flatmates turned out to be this Italian guy. He came in, and we're chatting, and I said I was from Nigeria, blah blah, blah. I said, oh, Nigeria, so you're a Nigerian prince, your name is Prince. And the name stuck till today. Even my brother calls me Prince, because my brother used to visit me at some point when I was doing my master. So so what started out as something that would be a very dull and potentially sad 1 year in Sterling turned out to be an amazing 1 year. Met a lot of people, enjoyed my
Wow.
masters. And once I finished my masters, I then went on to um, I wanted to get work again. So the reason why I came to do my masters was to boost my chances of getting work. So finished masters was trying to get work again. Same challenge, same problem happened again. So not getting the opportunities. And it was interesting because thankfully I kept in touch with my pastor. The way I got my first job was a very random one. I've been applying. I'm sure a lot of people on this call can relate to this. I was just shipping out the CVs back to back, daytime, nighttime, just shifting it out. Nothing. Nobody was calling back. And for those that were calling back, I wasn't getting through the interview stage. And then my pastor from Liverpool called me one day just to check up on me. And he was just, and when he called, I was like, what is this guy calling for? I was a bit like, oh, what am I going to tell Pastor Taiwo? So I was like, yeah, how are you doing? Just checking in on you, how's everything? I said, yeah, I finished my master's and I'm just trying to find work. And he said, oh yeah, I know someone in Aberdeen. I think he's a recruiter. I'll give you his number or his email. Send your CV to him. It's one of those ones where when he told me, I was thinking, like, what can some random guy in Aberdeen do for me? And like, how can Pastor Taiwo help with it? This is so random. But just because I was trying to be respectful with Pastor Taiwo, I said, yeah, okay. I got his email. I sent my CV to this guy. And then this guy said, oh, he doesn't recruit for finance accounting. So he sent my CV to this other guy. And I think the moment my CV got to that guy's desk, I was like the guy he was looking for. I just had everything I was looking for. And that was how I got my first job.
Wow.
So just coincidence, chance, grace, and yeah, a bit of Pastor Taiwo's input as well. And that was how I got my first job. So I didn't stay long after finishing my master's before I actually got my first job. And that was how that happened. Not what I wanted, not my ideal job. I was at this point a degree holder and a master's holder. And I got this very low level role, but I was happy to kickstart something. And that was how essentially my career started. I did that, did a few temporary roles, and then eventually I ended up in a company called Aegon. And it's interesting as well because so if you cast your mind back to 2007, this was right in the middle of the financial crisis. This is not
Wow.
a good time to graduate, and this is not a good time to graduate as an international student. So I had double X's working against me. But thankfully, the financial crisis actually worked in my favor because the job I got at Aegon was because of the financial crisis. So customer clients, or as we call them, were trying to pull their money out of the property fund because the property fund was just dipping, it was just going down the drain. So clients were trying to pull their money out. So they brought in some people to try and hold off, almost like hold off the wall of these clients trying to pull their money out. And I was one of those people. And that was how I
Wow.
got into Aegon. And while I was at Aegon, I met this young lady, and because she was Ghanaian, so we chatted at lunchtime. So one day she sent me an email and said, hey, Enoch, Aegon Asset Management. So that's the sister company of the company I was working with at that time. Aegon Asset Management, I've got this finance graduate trainee role. It closes today. I was like, okay.
Wow.
So rushed home, put my CV together. So at least at this point, I've had 2 or 3 experiences. So I got everything together, I got my CV out. And to cut the long story short, that was how I got my graduate role. And it was a blessing because it wasn't just a role. They were going to sponsor my professional exams to become a chartered accountant. They were going to pay for
Wow.
everything and then pay me a good salary on top of that. That is the point where I said I always use as that was where I started my career. And so lost touch with that lady, and strangely enough, I saw at an African shop a few years. I felt very emotional. I was almost crying because it was her sending that email to me that helped me kickstart my career, even though she didn't know the enormity of what she did. I saw her at the African shop. I went to meet her. I said hi. She was like, "Oh, sorry, where are you?" I was like, "Hey, I'm Enoch. We used to work together. We're actually friends, 15 years ago. I just want to say thank you. Remember this, but I just want to say thank you for what you did for me back then." Very awkward because her husband was there, and I didn't want to make it seem very awkward. So I just said, just wanted to say thank you, and I just stepped away from there. And relationships are good, and I always preach this to people that you've got to have relationships. You've got to keep growing your relationships, and you've got to have the right people around you. Whenever we at BPS, for those that are connected with BPS, whenever we have BPS events, I always tell people, connect with people. You can come with your friend or with your husband or with your wife, but once you step through that door, you should not speak to those people again for the rest of the evening. Just go speak to other people, connect, make friends. I mean, maybe not friends, but make connections, because these are the people that will then give you that email or give you that info that will give you your next, that will help get into your next role. The people around you will make you or break you. So you need to be conscious of the people around you. Like, do I have the right people around me? If not, then maybe start
Wow.
thinking about how to diversify the people around you, or even discard some people around you and rebuild a new set of people.
Yeah, you're speaking my language now, Enoch. I'm very big on leveraging on relationships. Relationships are really key. I had a meeting yesterday, club, breakfast meeting for women. We had about almost 30 women in the room. And when they came in, the usual thing, friends sat together. So I said, "Why are you here? It's snowing.
Yeah.
You came out to sit with the same person you've been chatting with all week.
It's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time." So I decided to put people, separate friends and all that. And honestly, today, I actually heard that from one of the tables, they formed a WhatsApp group.
Nice. There you
They
go.
met yesterday. Most of them met. Most of them on that table did not know before. So they
Yeah.
met yesterday and they now have a WhatsApp group. And honestly, that's what we should be doing, not just hanging out with the same people. Although I'm guilty of it though. Because if I go anywhere and Elo is there, I'm
Mm,
most likely gonna sit with Elo. But we still have a way of mixing with
mm,
other people.
mm.
And I
Yeah,
think it's
and it's something that, so just to put a funny story in there, even whenever we host events where people are to
mm,
sit, maybe like dinner table
mm,
kind of events, we split it up to the point where those BPS team members that are coming with their
mm,
partners, husband, wife, or whatnot,
mm.
you cannot sit with your partner. So we want people to just be out there networking, meeting new people. There's no point.
Yeah,
As you said, it's a waste of time. Like, why have you
yeah.
left your house to come speak with
Mhm.
Elo that you will see tomorrow, next week, next month? But some people still don't get that.
We don't.
And I think I'm getting to a stage in my life, maybe it's a pessimistic stage, where I'm thinking that you just can't change some people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can preach as much as you want, but they are just who they are, and you just have to accept them and just leave them as they are.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We are responsible for their lives. So
yeah.
yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm just gonna read a few comments now. I will sort this out. I don't know what's happening here, but I'll sort it out someday. Okay, Lakon says, now I see why you're creating opportunities for other Black professionals to get internship with companies, as you already know how difficult it is to get opportunities. Elo says, relationships is the currency. True. We move. Yes, so yes, leveraging on relationships. We still sit together. Elo is saying that, but still network with others. Elo is celebrating. You said, Enoch, I celebrate you. Yeah. So we celebrate Enoch. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you very
yeah.
much. Thank you
Okay,
very
so
much.
yeah, Enoch, we're gonna talk about the work that you're doing right now. We have now I know Enoch better. Thank God you came on Wordzone. And I think I'm one of the privileged people to know your story. And honestly, now we'll appreciate your work better because we know your story and we know where you're coming from. Even though we appreciate but we'll appreciate it better knowing the background. And that's what happens when we share our stories. People see where we are coming from. When I started the SS company, a lot of people were like, what's wrong with her? Why is she here? Why is she here? But by the time they hear my story, they know that, look, there's something driving this woman. She's not. I told you, Enoch, when I came on, I didn't go to church today because I'm not feeling great. But because I know that I owe it to my audience to show up, I still showed up. So sometimes it's not convenient. Sometimes these things are sacrificial, but we really don't owe people explanation why we do what we do. We still have to keep going. And I have a saying that just face front. Don't be distracted. I'm telling you, because you cannot throw stones at every dog that barks. You won't get to your destination. Face where you're going. Focus is the key. Enoch, you're going to share with us some of the work that you do. I'm part of Black. Professional Scotland. I want you to talk about that. What's happening? How did it all start? We have just 25 minutes more,
Yep.
and you have so many things that you do. So we
Yeah, I'll
need to
try.
keep it short.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll try to keep it short. So yeah, it's interesting. I just saw Tessie drop a comment. So
Yeah.
Tessie's those people call her day one. That she's one of my day one. She was there when that must have been 10 years ago, 9 years ago.
Wow.
Lovely to see you, Tessie. So when after I started my working as Aegon Asset Management, started my professional exams, towards working towards my qualification, I really felt privileged. So I was this black boy from Nigeria without a British passport, and I was working with these amazing people at these, asset management company. And asset management companies is a clique. It's difficult to get into asset management companies. I mean, you can get into a bank, but try to get into asset management companies quite hard. But then I got in on a graduate training program. So for me, I felt very blessed. And it's good I've shared my story with all of you. So if you look back to my story of Enoch that was sleeping on the mat in Mushin, to now rubbing shoulders with some really should I say important or powerful people here in Edinburgh. And the work I was doing as well was very exciting. I was speaking with the senior management, the C-suite, the CFO, the CEO, the chief operation officer. I was challenging their numbers. I was saying, oh, you spent 500K on travel last year. Let's see how we can make that 450K. These were the conversations I was having with these people, and I always pinch myself to say, as we say in Yoruba, oh man, you don't blow. Like, because sometimes you need to pinch yourself to say, wow, like I'm actually living a really good life. So because I was living that life and I still saw a lot of people around me and a lot of people that went to university with me back at the University of Liverpool and then went to University of Stirling. So I met a lot of people on all that my education journey. None of them, if I cast my mind back, none of them had the fortunes that I had. So a lot of them ended up maybe going back home to their home country, not of their will. A lot of them ended up taking very lower paid jobs, lower skilled jobs.
Mm.
So they never got to really kick off their career in whatever they studied. So I felt blessed. So I always thought so it was always sort of nagging me around what can I do to make it better for other people now and other people coming after me. But then I didn't know what to do. I was just I guess I was still in my early 20s there, being young, enjoying life. And then in 2016, I think at this point I'd gotten married. I think and I think that conviction just came again in 2016. And I decided to just start a network. So the network was basically the concept was let me start something for black people to support black people. That was the simple premise of me starting what was then Edinburgh Black Professionals. So started it. I remember when I when I told my wife that I wanted to do this, she was like, "What's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you. Why are you always trying to do something?" um, but I don't know, I just didn't feel at peace. I just felt maybe there was something I could do. So I started EBP. It was very tough at the beginning. Um, Trying to get other black people to buy into this was tough, especially black people that were, should I say, doing well. They did not care. They were just, I guess, in their head, they were thinking, I've done my hustle to get to where I am. Others should do their hustle as well. So that was sort of the mindset. That was the sort of the brick wall I was coming against. But I just kept on pushing. I reached out to a lot of people, and thankfully for me, I built up a very good network at this point. So through church and just through life. So I think the first event, I remember I was very nervous. I like just very worried that will people turn up? I've sent all the comms, people have said they will come, but thankfully people turned up. I can't remember the number. I don't know if it was 30 or 40 or 50, but like a respectable number of people turned up. And the way I was able to do it, so speaking of process, is at the point when I decided to start EBP, I didn't spend too much time before starting. So it didn't take me long to actually going from right, we're doing something to doing something must have taken me maybe weeks or months. And
Mm.
I think for me, so I've been told this and I think I've believed it as well. I'm
Mm.
very I'm an action-driven person. I don't like to talk too much. I don't talk about things I won't do. You know how people say "see you tomorrow," but they don't mean it. I don't say that because I'm like, I won't see you tomorrow, so I won't say "see you tomorrow." That's nonsense. So I like to say things I can do. Um, so thinking about how to start it, I didn't get caught up on it. And I know, some of you are on the call to maybe learn one or two things. I think sometimes in life, and I try to share this a lot when I'm speaking or when I'm on LinkedIn, that many people have ideas, but they never really kickstart that idea because they're fighting and worried and thinking, how am I going to do it? Or should I sway? Maybe I shouldn't do it. Let me check with 50 people, see what they think, or let me do a survey. And while they're doing that, they either move on with life or someone else just starts that stuff and knocks them out. Um, I think sometimes it's okay to just not know all the answer. It's okay to just go with what you know. Then I didn't know what we're going to end up doing, but the very simple premise was, let me just get people together and let's see if they can help themselves. And so, we hosted the first event. The financing side of it, I just thought I would just finance this. And again, that was done from a place of gratitude of, I think I'm blessed. I've got enough cash in my hand. I can just do this and just use it to help people. So I remember reaching out to my church to say, can I rent the space? They said, yeah, you can rent it for, I think it was 60 quid. They charged me. I was like, yeah, that's fine. So bought some meat pie, some cake, some drinks and stuff. And just, my wife as well, Porsche Day cutting when we got the names of people that were coming, we printed it, we cut out the names and we made badges. And I've never done event before, but we just made it happen. We hosted an event. It wasn't perfect, but we hosted our first
Yeah.
event. And I think that's the story there. We did it. And then once we
Yeah.
did the first one, we're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that next time. Maybe we should change that. And then we
Yeah.
did the second one, and then it got better, and then it got better, and then it got better to what we did. Like, for example, on Wednesday, which was, in my view, just amazing. But you need to start. If you don't start, you will never get the chance to learn or grow. So you can do all the surveys you want. You can analyze on Excel as much as you want. You can speak to experts all you want. But at some point, you need to start. So started EBP. It was tough. The 4 years of operation as EBP was tough. There was no growth. I can say that openly. People were generally, a lot of people were worried about the name. This was before diversity became cool. So a lot of black people were distancing themselves, thinking, I don't want to associate myself with an organization that has black in the name. Like, I don't want to get in trouble at work. And then those, as I said, those that were already successful, just not my cup of tea. I can't be bothered. But we just kept it going in some way, shape, or form. It was tough. It was demoralizing. But thankfully, the people, my key people, myself, my wife, Taufik, and the people that were around me at that early stage were happy to just continue doing what we're doing, even though the numbers weren't growing. Thankfully, we did, because we didn't know we were preparing ourselves for what was coming in 2020, because
Wow.
it's so good all the way to 2020, and then
Wow.
2020 came, and I think you remember what happened. Then COVID came first, and then George Floyd, and then Black Lives Matter, and it was almost as if BPS was sort of brewing and just ready for that moment. Because once that moment came, we just, the word I like to use, we just exploded. We just went from nobody cares about us to organizations like BlackRock and Morgan Stanley wanting to work with us. It was just like that. And that was because we've been grinding for 4 years of no growth,
Wow.
no much substance. We're helping few people, but I wouldn't say we're helping at the rate at which I wanted us to be helping when I thought of the organization then. And thankfully, I had people, as I said, it's very important, the people you surround yourself with. I had people that believed in it. Yeah, thanks a lot. We're just preparing for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Be careful of your circle. Your circle is very important. If you have negative people around you, you won't go far. It's that simple. Thankfully, I had positive people around me that got what we're trying to do, and they just kept on ticking it on up to 2020. And then 2020 came, everything that happened. We decided we were no longer restricted by geography, because up to that point our events were physical. So we went online, and then we thought, oh, there's nobody else doing what we're doing in Glasgow, Aberdeen, and the other cities and towns. So we thought, let's go Scotland wide. So we rebranded as BPS, Black Professional Scotland. And then once we became BPS, our membership just like growing. So as at that point, I think our membership must have been 50, 100. And so today, as I'm speaking to you, we've crossed 2,000 members, Black students, Black professionals, and We've got about 22 partners, corporate partners. So as I said, I've mentioned some of them already. Some of the big names on the high street are now partnering with us, wanting to support what we're doing, while we also support them as well. Um, the organization is now doing what we I hoped for it to do. It's doing more than I hoped for it, because when I started it, I didn't think there was a point where companies will work with us. I was black people. But we've gone beyond that now, because black people are not powerful. Is the reality. We don't have power in the UK. So we need this corporate to come support us to actually achieve some really good stuff. So I'm pleased where we are still on a journey. We're still always coming up with ideas about to support. So we've got a lot of initiatives, we've got a lot of and we host events, but more importantly, we host a lot of initiatives that support our members and at the same time support our partners as well. So for example, 2 3 weeks ago, we took about 100 people to not Black Rock, to Barclays. So 100 black people were in the lobby of Barclays. And when I go into the building that day, because of where we started from, I like to reflect. I'm very reflective. I always remember the tough days. I remember those days where I stood by the door and I was just hoping, are people going to turn up today? And then turning up to an event where I have a team that have planned that event. I just turned up looking good, and just there were 100 people in the building already. And when
I
people
know that feeling.
yeah, when people saw me, they probably didn't know what was going on in my head. But in my head,
Mm.
I was just feeling blessed, thinking it's actually happened. This thing is actually running itself without much input from me. But
Um,
not to take up too much time. So that's of the BPS story, and the story is still being written. The journey is still exciting, and I'm glad that I've met people like you, and some other amazing people that have helped us to this point. Yeah.
wow, Enoch. Honestly, we can go on and on. I know that 1 hour won't be enough for us to go through all this. And thank you for what you do. I
Welcome.
remember having a conversation with you when I wanted my son to
Sorry.
go for an apprenticeship. And you were one of those people who really encouraged me that, oh, that's good, sis. Let him do it. Let him do it. And today, I have an apprentice in my house, which honestly I'm eternally grateful for. And it's been a journey. And uh, some of the things you're saying are things that are really, if you're someone who is doing anything at all that involves people, you would understand what Enoch is talking about. I know sometimes Elo and I, people sometimes will say, oh, why are they so close? It's because we go through stuff together. We go through a lot of stuff together. You call people, especially our black community, and it's something that we really need to change sincerely. And this is coming from you as well. You just, oh, please, don't worry. And some of those things will be beneficial to you if you attend, but you think you're doing the organizer a favor.
Hello.
No, sorry. You're doing yourself a favor if you turn up to these events. But thank you, Enoch, for just keeping on. Whether they turn up or not, you were still there, and today is paying off. It's paying off. And honestly, Enoch, the I don't think you know the impact that you have made. And I don't think you, of course, right now you don't even see the benefits. You've not even seen the benefit yet. In another 5 10 years, when all of these people that you're supporting become EDs, when all of them become directors of organizations, that's when you see. And I might sound like a prophet now. I
You
believe
sound
that
like my
your
dad.
children are the one. I believe that your children are the ones that are really going to reap all of those things that you're doing, the harvest. And I know that you're doing it sacrificially, but our God is going to reward you for this. Somebody say amen. This is my show. I can
Amen.
say amen if I want. All right, let me read a few of the comments here. Ayiko say BPN is excellent. I love that it shows the side of Black professionals. Yes. The future of BPS is very bright. Glory to God. Prophesizes, says the Lord. That's amazing, Enoch. Yeah, 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 yeah. And Abimbola says, careful of your circle. Good to hear from Black professionals. Yeah. When the opportunity comes, are you ready? Asked the Lord. You were preparing for that opportunity. So all the while you were in the background, you were preparing. And someone is going to see you today and say, oh, where did it come from? They'll just think overnight success. No, this guy has been preparing since. If you just joined us, go back and listen to the replay. Share this video, subscribe to my channel. If you don't subscribe, that means you just sneaked in and you sneaked out. Subscribe. Don't be guilty of that. So subscribe. Thank you so much. I know that Black Professional Scotland is not all that you do. You were talking about a company in Nigeria. What's that all about?
Yeah,
Guy,
because
you're busy in Scotland. What are you doing again?
yeah, so I mean, with the one in Nigeria, it was again from that place of solutions-driven mindset. So because
Hmm.
whenever we go back home to Nigeria, what we find is so okay. While in Scotland, I myself and so my very close circle, we love to explore, we love to go out and see stuff and like just explore nature, explore what we have around us. So, but then whenever we go to Nigeria, it doesn't seem like there's anything to do. So you only see uncles and aunties, and it doesn't seem like there's anything. So this was back in 2016, 2017. So myself and my friends, so myself, my brother, and my very close friend, three of us were like one. So we so challenged one another that anyone that has any idea they should share, because sometimes you have an idea and that idea sounds too big for you and you just sort of think that's not for me. So we challenged ourselves that if you come up with any idea, share with us and we can all carry it together. So then one day I came up with this idea. I don't know if some of you know a website called VisitScotland.com. So VisitScotland.com is where you go if you're looking for stuff to do. So for example, if you're going to Glasgow and think, oh, what can I do in Glasgow? You can go to VisitScotland.com and look for something. So I was just thinking, then it was just like a light bulb moment for me that it's not that there's nothing to do in Nigeria, it's that there's no information about what to do in Nigeria. So it's lack of information rather than lack of things to do. So I shared it with the guys. Everybody got excited, like, yeah, let's build our own visit Nigeria. And of course, we checked. There was nothing like that in Nigeria. So, and that was how we started the journey. So it was tough. It was we started it on Instagram, and we opened a Visit Nigeria Now page on Instagram, and that just grew. I think now I've got 50,000 followers on Instagram. But while that was growing, we then started building the website, and so and it's good because I've been fortunate to be exposed to a lot of things to the point where if someone is building a website for me now, I can speak this, I can talk the talk because I've built a website, I've built a website. So build the website. That's a year or 2 years. It was good as well because London. So I was flying down to London every week. So anytime I'm in London for 2 days, for 3 days, I had 3 nights to just work on the project, which was good because then when I go back home to Scotland, then I can spend time with the family. So eventually finished building the website. We launched the and when we started, then it wasn't for business. I know I'm not very what's it called it's, I just like to create, so just build this website and find information. That was the idea. We never talked about, oh, what's the 2 year plan, what's the 5 year plan, how much are we going to make. I'm not saying people should start things that way, but that's just how I start things. People start on Instagram. Then people start asking us, you need to stop showing us this place, taking us to these places. And the three of us were based in the UK, so we're going to logistically plan trips in Nigeria. Listen, where there's a will, there's a way. We eventually planned our first trip February 2018. We took 20 people, took them to 5 destinations in Lagos, and that was the day Buhari was coming to Lagos as well to campaign. So there was a lot of chaos thrown into that day, and you learn to work under pressure because we didn't know Buhari was coming to Lagos on that day. And then in the morning they said they blocked a lot of the roads, and we're just thinking, this is why we didn't want to do this. But however, we pulled it off. We created a lot of content. We used that to shout, and then boom, that just grew. And then next thing, we're taking people to Ikogosi, to Osun State, to Ondo State, to Ogun State, to Port Harcourt, to Obudu, moving
Wow.
people across Nigeria, and we're doing it from here in the UK, just planning the logistics and letting it happen. For me, I find it beautiful after you've planned everything on Excel and then just sort of push a button to implement, and then people just start doing their things. And that's the story of Visit Nigeria Now. So, um, and then I know we've got 5 minutes to go. I'll just quickly touch on Black Scottish Adventurers because that's sort of tied into Visit Nigeria Now as well. Because again, the passion for going out and enjoying nature. So for those of you that are in Scotland, I'll just mention this. I'm not trying to sell BSA to you, but or wherever you are in
Sell,
the world. No, 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 it's fine.
sell.
BSA will
No,
sell
feel
itself.
free to sell. Feel
So
free to sell.
wherever you are in the world, just embrace everything about that place. So for those of us that are in Scotland, whenever I speak to people in Scotland, they're like, oh, yes, place is dry, there's nothing to do. We're like, yeah, you can keep, if you're going to be here for the next 60 years, is that the life you're going to live? A life of there's nothing to do? Or are you just going to embrace what Scotland has? So Scotland has got very beautiful outdoors. They've got some amazing scenery. I mean, people travel from all over the world to visit Scotland. So you need to ask yourself, am I missing something? And that was what we did. We embraced Scotland. We started going out to the outdoors, hiking, climbing mountains, and just doing all these amazing things, getting some amazing views, and just enjoying nature. And then while doing that, we create content, we share it on Instagram. I'm sure some of you have heard me saying content so many times. So like we just got very good at it. Myself and my brother, we got a drone. So if you take the video or picture of a place from up in the sky, it looks very different when you take a picture on the ground. So we're just showing these amazing places, always having fun in these places, and then eventually got to the point where people started asking us, can you take us to these places? Very similar to VNN. We're showing these beautiful places, and then people say, take us to these places. And then BSA, same thing. We didn't have any plans to start anything. It was sort of people driven. And then when that request started coming in, we thought, okay, maybe the next trip we go, let's take some people. And that was April 2022, April this year. So we took 20 people up on a mountain in Loch Lomond, Benhan, about 450 meters, not too high, but challenging enough to the point where you feel like you've done something. And that's just grown. So they came, people that have never hiked in their life. They came, they enjoyed this, they've gone home, they told their wives, their friends, their sisters, next 40, next 60. So the biggest number of people we've taken out now is 100 people. And the last trip we went yesterday, for those of you that know Edinburgh, there was snow in Edinburgh, and almost 50 people came out in the snow to hike in the snow. And you may be sitting there thinking, oh, they must be mad. But they are creating moments, experiences that you can't get if you sit in front of Netflix, to create those moments so you can look back on them your old age or when you're old and think, I actually did that. That was fun. Right. That's BSA. That's how BSA started, and so how it's going. It's just been driven by the community, people tapping into that mindset of I'm here now. I'm just gonna enjoy the most of being here, but then without having to necessarily plan it myself, I can just leverage BSA, and BSA will do the planning. I just have to turn up and have a great time.
Wow, this is so good. And one thing you've not told us is generating some cash into your pocket.
Yep. So BSA, we ask folks because apart from the hike, so just because of the time, after we finish the hike, we normally finish hike around 12:1. We then take people to a location where we give them food, there's music, there's entertainment, there's drinks and whatnot. So obviously we have to charge for that.
Yeah.
So charge £20 currently. That could change later. And then hopefully, I mean, as that has gone on, thankfully we've been able to retain a bit of cash left in the organization. So we've started this thing
I
from
like
not
that part. I like that part.
yeah, fact, okay. We started it. We started this with just to take people out on mountains. The first trip we didn't charge. The first trip was actually free. So when we finished the first trip, that we thought this is not sustainable. We need to charge these people
Yeah.
because this is our time and we're giving them all off. And that was when we started charging.
Yeah.
And then it's
Yeah,
just
that's
grown
good.
from there.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with charging. Actually, what I've discovered is people don't value what they don't pay for. People don't value what they don't pay for. So i- if you charge, they pay for it, they will turn up. Most of them
That's
will
true.
turn up
People,
if they
people
pay for it.
generally don't cancel. They normally turn up.
Yeah. No, they will turn up. But they don't pay for it. You won't see
Yeah,
them because
true.
they've got nothing to
True.
lose. So very much, Enoch. Thank you for
Welcome.
such an inspiring and encouraging session. We will do this again. We'll do this again. More people need to hear your story. And for everyone who has been part of this, thank you so much. If you have a story and you want to be on Wordzone, please get in touch with me. Of course not. Jesus did it. What, how did he do it? I want to hear that. So if you have stories, and or you know someone who you think you want to recommend, let me know. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Next week I'm going to have another interesting fellow who is going to be sharing their stories. Okay, thank you, and God bless.
Thank you,
Bye.
Nicola. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.